Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, auto sales in the state are showing strong rates of growth. We'll find out what's fueling the increase. We'll hear how cities and towns will be impacted by sales tax collection changes and other recent legislative action. And we'll look at a local charity that works with restaurants to ensure that food makes it to the hungry. Those stories next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. Arizona auto sales are expected to show a 12% increase for June. That compares to 8% growth in the U.S. overall. Both numbers would represent the strongest showing for auto sales since the Great Recession. I'll talk to an economist about what's behind the spike in numbers for new car sales. But first, producer Lori Allen and photographer Scott Olson look at the used car market and how it correlates to the surge in auto sales.
Used car dealer Ace Christian analyzes the numbers. The good news, sales at Rock Solid Auto Center are up about 15% this year. The bad news?
The problem is that the inventories are still short, and it's going to take a long time, a real long time, before they get to the levels they were 5 years ago.
Used vehicles are in short supply all over the state, according to the Independent Dealers Association.
Folks that have even less inventory than we do over here, they're traveling over to Arizona, buying cars and shipping them back to the East Coast, taking our cars out of inventory. So this is driving the price of cars up. We've got dealers that are going to auction that can't believe how much they're having to pay for a car to have it in their inventory.
The demand for used cars has hiked their prices, but the rise in new car sales could help.
What that means for me is that more vehicles are going to be traded in, which means more supply at the auction.
So shoppers could have more from which to choose.
602-657.
And they may find a kinder, gentler used car sales staff. Christian says those who survive the recession are better dealers.
And they have better practices. And one of the practices that I've heard over and over again is that they treat the consumer like they would want to be treated.
Sean Whitwer says he liked the way he was treated. He just bought a Lincoln.
The information that they provided to us was not just, hey, come get a car, bring this, this, and this much money. It was more, they did a great job at explaining everything, and it just showed a feeling of actually caring, and not just about their bottom line, but in actually helping us in obtaining another car.
Industry analysts predict more people are ready to obtain another car. Pent-up demand remains a factor.
They drove that car as long as they really feel comfortable with, and they're just saying, well, dang it, I'm going to get a new car, even if maybe nothing's changed for them. But they're just saying, okay, we're getting a new car, or getting replacing our car, trading it in is kind of the American way.
And joining me now to talk about why auto sales are increasing and how that growth impacts Arizona's economy is economist Jim Rounds of Elliott D. Pollock and Company. Good to see you again. Thanks for joining us. Auto sales improving big time here. What's happening?
Well, we went through a period during the downturn where individuals were uncertain about their jobs. Their housing values dropped significantly, their retirement portfolios fell off a cliff, and they didn't feel comfortable buying new cars. So it wasn't even just about the current income, their paychecks, even though their paychecks weren't increasing as much, but their overall level of wealth. They felt like things weren't quite as good. And so we saw periods where we were declining on a month-by-month basis compared to the prior year by about 35%.
Wow.
Well, what has turned around? People's stock market portfolios are in better shape. Everything gets back to housing to some degree, and so people's housing values are up quite a bit over the last couple of years, and they're feeling like it's time to pull that trigger and maybe buy a new car.
What about prices? Let's stick with new cars here. Are prices up, down, making a difference here either way?
Prices are starting to go up. Looked at some data that was just released this past week where U.S. manufacturers are about 90% capacity in terms of their production, which is very high. The segment indicated that we might have a shortage of some of the used cars. Well, it's going to take a while for all these car manufacturers to kind of ramp ramp up to this new demand. So prices are going up, but they're not going to go up to the point where it's going to dissuade some of the buyers. The impact from the economic recovery is going to outweigh that impact, I believe.
What about the impact of interest rates? What are we seeing out there?
Interest rates, they're starting to go up. If you take a look at the different interest rates offered by the different groups that put the loans together, it still varies a lot, because we're kind of at an inflection point where they're going to go up. Now, if a car loan goes up from 3% to 4%, that's not that big of a deal. You know, add another $20 to the payment maybe. But if it goes from 3 to 6%, say, which it possibly could, that's like adding another $2,000 onto the price of the car. So that could have an impact, but we probably won't see that impact the sales as much. It'll probably be another couple of years at least.
So what are people buying out there?
Well, a few years ago, the SUVs, of course, were very popular in the trucks. We're still America, so we're still selling a lot of trucks. It's still about half the sales. But there's been a little bit of a shift from the SUVs to the more fuel-efficient cars, and that's kind of continued. Gas prices have been somewhat stable. It's not like we went from $3 to $6 a gallon. So the ratio of the small cars to the trucks has been relatively stable the last couple of years. But we're seeing a little bit of a movement towards the more fuel-efficient cars.
What about gas prices and the impact there on auto sales?
If it goes up significantly, and right now the forecast is for it to be relatively stable for a little while, it could have an impact on shifting to some of the smaller cars again. But the biggest impact right now is the economic recovery and the wealth effect on the consumer. So consumers are going to be buying more cars, but you could see a dampening impact because there's less pent-up demand because consumers have been buying the cars, as indicated by some of the numbers, and the interest rates haven't quite hit that point where it's going to dissuade the buyers.
You mentioned pent-up demand. We heard about that in the package as well. How much pent-up demand was out there? Because we had a Cash for Clunkers program, other ideas to push people to buy cars, and we heard at the time, if you push them to buy cars now, they're not going to buy them later. It sounds like they bought them later.
Well, they did buy them later. The Cash for Clunkers was really interesting because it caused a huge spike in sales. You could see it in the historical data, and then it was followed by a trough. But that wasn't the best program because we got a lot of people during the downturn that really couldn't afford a new car. We convinced them to go buy a new car. So that wasn't the best plan. But now we have all this pent-up demand because people have been holding off for so long. They've been hanging onto their car for that extra 3 or 4 years. They're ready to buy. And so the growth that you've seen, like in Arizona, I think it was around 12%, and we're continuing at that rate. It's going to slow a little bit. But if the long-term average is maybe around 6%, but the next couple of years we grow up maybe 10, 9, 8, that's still above average.
You mentioned people are ready to buy. Are dealers ready to sell? Have they changed their tactics? Have they changed their formulas out there? When you go to a car lot, I haven't been to one in a while here now, when you go there, are you seeing a different kind of car sale?
Dealers were very willing to work with the buyer the last 2 or 3 or 4 years now that they're seeing the extra demand, and we're seeing the car manufacturers hitting 90% utilization of their factories, and it's a little bit more difficult to get those cars. They're going to be able to negotiate on their side a little bit more and get higher prices. So their lots aren't completely filled. They will be soon because economics is wonderful. Everything adjusts within a short period of time. So these little kinks will work themselves out, but expect growth to continue the next couple or 3 years.
And tell us about the impact now of the auto sales numbers on Arizona's economy overall. We'll stick with Arizona here. How much of a driving indicator? You mentioned kind of a bit of an indicator here. Which direction and how much?
Well, 12% in terms of the rate of growth for sales from the prior year. I'm expecting that to be the same this year, and then if it falls, it's going to maybe fall to 10 and then go down to 8. It'll probably be 2015, 2016 before we see things return to more normal levels, but it's adding to state sales tax collections, it's adding to the community sales tax collections, and so it's benefiting the state as a whole. Even though it's a local market industry, an individual buying an automobile, it's still a nice signal that things are moving in the right direction, and it's consistent with all the other economic data that we saw.
It seems as though the auto industry may be a little more resilient than other sectors. True?
Well, they're doing well now, but we would have seen significant bankruptcies before. I was trying to figure out where everybody stood in terms of paying off the bailout monies from a few years back, and it was difficult to put together when I was looking at that over the last several weeks. But most of the manufacturers have paid off the bailout money. I think Ford was listed as one of the more problematic companies in terms of paying it off. But everything's kind of working out. I'm not a big fan of government bailouts, but in this particular case, I don't know if it was the wrong thing to do.
Yeah, it's interesting. You kind of wonder where we would be, and could you still find that new car if the bailout hadn't happened. Real quickly, before you go, you're looking at 12% this year, and obviously a little bit of an easing off. It looks like it's going to be stable for a while, at least.
Yeah, we're going to see some decent growth. It's going to match a lot of the other economic data that we talk about, and so we're moving in the right direction, whether it be autos or other sales.
All right. Jim, always a pleasure. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
We want to hear from you. Submit your questions, comments, and concerns via email at arizonahorizon@asu.edu.
The state legislature made big changes to Arizona's sales tax collection system last session, changes that will impact Arizona municipalities. I recently talked about the changes with Ken Strobeck, Executive Director of the Arizona League of Cities and Towns. Thanks for joining us tonight on Arizona Horizon.
You bet.
Biggest issue to cities and towns this session?
Well, it was by far the issue regarding tax simplification, the TPT reform bill that ended up in House Bill 2111. And that's so important to cities and towns because the sales tax is our primary source of revenue. Over 50% of the typical city's revenue comes from local sales tax. And there were some major changes proposed to that whole system. What
were the original concerns and how were those concerns addressed? And were they addressed to your satisfaction?
Well, very good question. There was a task force that Governor Brewer appointed about a year ago, and it met for about 6 months during 2012 and came out with some recommendations. And the original bill that was introduced had some fundamental changes to the system, including the elimination of self-collecting cities. There are 19 of the largest cities that are collecting their own sales tax. It eliminated the city auditing of businesses, and it also eliminated the prime construction tax in favor of a tax on materials at the retail sale. And those would have made huge changes in the way cities operate and the revenue streams that come in. We negotiated during the entire course of the session, and we got some compromise language at the end that I would say will make it work for us, but you know, it wasn't the ideal as far as we're concerned.
The contracting issue seemed like that was the biggest sticking point. And again, explain this, because we've talked about this on the program, but it is a little complicated. If you build a home in Maricopa or Fountain Hills, explain how those sales taxes are collected now and how they either will change or would have changed.
Okay, the way it was done before is a contract on a home, for example, was taxed at 65% of the total value of the contract. And the presumption was that 35% of what you're doing is labor, and that's not taxed. And then 65% is materials, overhead, profit, etc., and that was taxed. It's taxed at the point where you're actually building the house. And so the city would get a portion of that tax and the state would get a portion of that tax because the filing would happen where you're actually doing the construction. The proposal was eliminate that entirely and only tax materials, which is far less than 65%, and then only tax materials where you buy the materials. So you may buy them out of state, you may buy them in Phoenix, you may buy them somewhere and then build somewhere else. The way the bill finally came down is the prime contracting tax stays exactly the same for home builders, but it changes for what's called service contractors. And
plumbers
those are,
and such?
Yeah, basically we call it the handyman kind of rule. So if somebody's coming out to do a replacement or something that is simply repairing something that's broken, they will go to this sales tax at the point of sale system and will not have to file taxes with the city where they're actually doing the work anymore.
I know that I think Representative Lesko said the tax classification change to service contractors would actually help cities. Was she accurate there?
We don't believe it will. In fact, the JLBC estimate shows that cities will still be losing revenue off of this system because, remember, we were talking about taxing at 65% of the total value of those contracts, and now it's estimated that materials are about 21% of what the service contractors do. So that's a pretty big tax cut, and we're not going to recoup all of that through retail sales.
And the prime contractors, do they return how much to cities? And isn't there like a general pool? Is that where the 20% comes from that's returned to the cities?
No, you're talking about the shared revenue part of it, and that's the state part of it. I'm talking about the local part.
Okay, well, talk about the state part of it and how that factors into all this, because again, I think some people are saying the cities will not be quite as bad off as maybe some of the cities had said.
The 21% that will be taxed now, approximately 21% on materials, will go into the shared shared revenue system that the state shares with cities and towns, and that is shared at a rate that's higher than the prime contracting shared revenue. So don't want to get too far off into the weeds, but so it's a bigger percentage but a smaller piece of the pie to begin with. So we don't think it's actually going to make up all of the lost revenue.
With the change to service contractors, how does it impact cities? How does it impact things like city planning?
Well, since we were able to retain the prime contracting on new home construction and on major remodel and those kinds of things, we don't think it's going to be nearly as impacting as it would have been had we had to go to the entire system where everything was changed to just a point-of-sale retail. So the estimate of JLBC is anywhere from $1 to $15 million impact statewide initially. So we'll see how that shakes out through the whole system. But there's a lot of assumptions that are built into that projection, so we'll have to see how it actually works.
There won't be a fight among municipalities that build a Home Depot or a Lowe's in every town.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other concerns, consolidated elections. We've heard a lot about this in the past as well. A little cleanup action on this. Talk to us about this.
Right. Last year there was a bill that was passed that said that all city elections have to move, if they're in the spring cycle, they have to move to the fall cycle of even-numbered years. And over 70 cities and towns held their municipal elections in the spring cycle. That meant they had the primary in March and then the general election in May, and that's when mayors and council members were elected. That's all being changed now to the fall of even-numbered years. And so we had some issues that had to be cleaned up as a result of that legislation passing. One of them had to do with length of terms. Let's say you were elected in the spring cycle, your 2 years or 4 years is up in the spring. What do? And so we had the legislature give us some permission through statute that says we can extend those terms until the next election comes up for those people. So they could be extended from 6 months to a year and a half. And then the other issue was home rule.
Well, I want to get to home rule in a second here, but why is it important to cities to have these elections in off years, in off times, these sorts of things? Why was it not good for cities to consolidate these elections?
We oppose that bill because there's a bit of attention that's given to city elections that we're worried is just going to get lost in the shuffle. When you put it in the even-numbered year in the fall cycle, you're going to be competing against Congress, against all state legislators, against judges, against school boards. All those things will all be on one ballot in the fall. And instead of being able to focus a little bit more on the city elections in the spring cycle, we're concerned that they're just going to get lost in the shuffle.
Proponents say it saves money.
Right.
Valid?
Perhaps. The counties usually run those elections, and there was usually a fee that went along with those two cities, but the total number of dollars was rather small when you look at the cost of a city budget, and we think the value was there to be able to have some focus on those local elections.
And I think they also, those who are supporting this bill also said that because you would have them for the big elections, you would have more turnout, more eyes on that ballot.
Perhaps, yes, but again, you're going to be having so many issues on a ballot, including all the ballot propositions, in addition to all the candidates at all the levels, federal, state, and local, and schools and judges and so forth, like I mentioned. So it's very likely that at the tail end of the ballot, you're going to have a lot of drop-off, and people will vote the top races on a ballot and then just put it in the mail and send it back, or just not even mark them if they go to the polling place.
And you mentioned home rule. What are we talking about here?
There are 14 cities and towns that would have lost the authority to spend revenue that they have been collecting because they have to go out every 4 years for a home rule option. And that would have expired. The Constitution says you have to hold these home rule elections at the same time you elect candidates. And those would have expired in the spring. They would have had that period of time between the spring and the fall cycle when they couldn't have spent the money even that they have collected already. So the legislature did finally, the very last bill that passed out of the Senate, has waives the penalties for those 14 cities and towns if they exceed their home rule expenditure, provided that they put that on the ballot at the next election.
Okay, and real quickly, highway user funds and lottery funds, those had been swept in the past. Are they still swept?
Still swept, yes. The HERF is at the same level as last year. The impact is about $36 million to cities and towns. That's money that we really think should be put back into streets and roads. People have that expectation when they buy gas that that's going to be where their money is going to go, and we'd definitely like to get that back.
All right, that'll probably be addressed next session, you would imagine?
Yeah, we'll have that on our agenda.
All right. Good to see you again. Thanks for joining us.
Ted.
Tonight in our look at Arizona Giving and Leading, we focus on Waste Not, a Scottsdale-based organization that collects food from restaurants, resorts, and grocers and delivers that food to the hungry. Waste Not Executive Director Dee Minton joins us now to tell us more about her organization. It's good to see you again.
Thank you very much.
Last time we saw you, you were winning all sorts of awards, and everyone was finally recognizing what you're doing. Tell us more. What are you doing? What is Waste Not?
Oh, thank you, Ted. Well, we are feeding the hungry. We collect excess food from restaurants, resorts, caterers, grocers, as you mentioned, and we currently deliver it to more than 100 different agencies and organizations that feed the hungry. A very, very diverse group of people. Schools, after-school programs. We're involved in senior facilities, daycares, transition homes, some homeless shelters, everybody that just needs a helping hand.
And this is, again, this is excess food, not food that I didn't finish at my meal, but food that wasn't presented?
Exactly. It's excess food that has been properly maintained. I'll give you an example. If there's a dinner for 500 people and only 400 attend, 50 extra dinners. If that food has not been placed on the table, not plated, but has been held in the kitchen, there's 50 dinners that are going to go to waste, simply going to go to waste. So that's the type of food that we rescue.
And as far as how Waste Not got started, give us a little history here. And again, was the original goal X, and now over the years it's turned into Y?
You know, we have had our entire history, which is more than 25 years, a singular mission. We take food, excess food from people that don't want it or need it, and give it to those that do. And that's singularly what we still do today. We're very good at it. We're very precise. We're not a food bank.
I wanted to ask you about that. Compare yourself to a food bank.
Right, right. And that's why it's a little harder for people to get their arms around us, because we're behind the scenes. We're a mobile operation out there that is working behind the scenes. But the primary differences between Waste Not and a food bank are that we don't warehouse food. It's easy for people to go to a food bank and participate in the mission. But with Waste Not, we're behind the scenes, very lean, efficient. Our team of 5 drivers are on routes. They pick the food up in the morning and they are distributing it throughout the day. So that is one primary difference. And the other is that we do collect food from restaurants, caterers.
I was going to say, so if Ted's Restaurant figures out that, you know, we had a special on meatloaf today, and I don't think we're going to be able to sell all this meat. And so by 6, 7, 8 o'clock, I call you, or earlier
Absolutely.
that day, I say that we're doing a special on meatloaf. I might have some extras. How does that work?
Just give us notification, as much notification as you can. And that's all there is to it. It's very, we're so easy, we're so flexible. We just want people to be aware of us. And the need for food, Ted, it's overwhelming. I mean, my gosh, it's devastatingly hot out. People are hungry. And when you think about 1 in 4 kids going to bed in our community hungry every night, we all need to step up to the plate. And if there is excess food or you know of it, certainly call Waste Not.
And if you deliver now, you said to schools, schools, senior centers, and all points in between. Homeless shelters too?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Transition homes, rehab centers,
yes.
Homeless shelters. Currently more than 100 different organizations.
Your relationship with restaurants, grocers, caterers, and such. Talk about when you first started. Were people kind of like raising a couple of eyebrows? And how difficult is it to get a restaurant to say, okay, let's do it?
Well, you know, that's our strong suit, is establishing great relationships with our donor partners, because that's the lifeblood. That is our lifeblood. Without our donors, people are going to go hungry. So we spend a lot of time. We cultivate that relationship. They need to know that they can depend upon us. We can depend upon them. Here's the thing. We don't know every day exactly what we're going to receive. We don't. That's another facet of it. Our drivers are constantly making decisions as to what food can best be used where. And so it's a logistics marvel out there behind the scenes.
So what are your greatest challenges right now?
Well, I will tell you, right now the challenge is the heat.
Yeah.
Our vehicles, in fact, we have been in a circumstance that's been very unusual. We've had 2 trucks down. And I will tell you, when we can't deliver food, first of all, the people that are donating food to us are depending on us to pick the food up. So when our trucks are down, the people that are receiving food, it's devastating for our drivers to have to go and tell them that the heat has gotten to our vehicles, and that's exactly what's happened. But we are through that. So those are expenses that come along. that you don't anticipate in the summer. People that need food that weren't served. So those are ongoing challenges.
Last question. What's next for WasteNot?
Well, we are in the process of creating another route. We will be a little bit further on into the summer and the fall. And I'll put it this way. We never have to look for people that are hungry. Ted, they find us.
Right.
But we are seeking new food donors, new opportunities, new relationships. And so anyone that could work with us in that regard, we'd be very pleased to talk with.
Well, you're doing fantastic work. Continued success. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Ted.
And Wednesday on Arizona Horizon, the Phoenix Coyotes could be skating out of town soon. We'll talk about the fate of the local NHL team. And Mesa Mayor Scott Smith talks about his new role as head of the U.S. Mayor's Conference. That's at 5:30 and 10 on the next Arizona Horizon. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.